the law! Best FastLane ever! Hello, my fellow Marks, and welcome to this FastLane edition of the Mark Remark, a pay-per-view suitably named for the high chances of the audience witnessing several car wrecks. My name's Martin, and yes, I was the one behind GTV. This year, FastLane emanates from the FedEx Forum in Memphis, which is perfect because FedEx's slogan, make it, print it, pack it, ship it, is remarkably similar to the WWE slogan of fake it, shill it, Z-pack it, lol Cena wins. Also, much like FedEx, this pay-per-view is slow as fuck. And each match comes with its own tracking number, so that you can see just how far off the mark Vince's booking decisions were. The FastLane jerk-off show begins happening to us, and there's nothing we can do about it. As always, we're joined by WWE's panel of experts. Renee Young, the expert at smiling and nodding when everyone else is fucking up. Booker T, the expert at fucking up. Corey Graves, the expert at looking like a well-dressed serial killer. And Byron Saxton, the expert at... You know what, let's come back to Byron Saxton, okay? Booker T is extremely excited to be in Memphis, as it's the home of the barbecue rib. Also, he heard something about a wrestling event happening this weekend, although he's yet to see any actual evidence of that. Renee Young smiles and nods, and then promotes Paul Heyman's upcoming appearance on Miz TV, where he will cut promos for every single member of the roster, and then wrestle himself for 3 hours, because apparently, he's the only one who can get anybody over right now. Corey Graves says that when Miz TV is on, he usually mutes the TV, which is ironic because that's what everybody else wishes they could do when the WWE announce team is speaking. A 7-year-old boy on stilts wearing an adult man's suit is in the social media lounge, announcing that Lucy in Mrs. Fenchurch's 2nd grade English class smells like old people and farts. You're not fooling anybody, Timmy. Whoever the fuck invites everybody on Twitter to use the hashtag AskUso, since he'll be interviewing the tag team champions later, and couldn't be bothered doing any actual research beyond reading their WWE.com profile, which describes them quite accurately as being the entire tag team division and contains only the words, okay, which one is Jimmy again? A promotional spot informs us that FastLane is the last stop on the road to Wrestlemania. So if you need to take a piss, it's best to get out of the car and go now, because there won't likely be any Divas matches once we get there. The panel of bewildered idiots theorizes as to why Sting is going after Triple H, and Byron Saxton suggests that he might be trying to finish what WCW started. Bury the Cruiserweight division? Make something on a pole matches seem interesting? Destroy Ric Flair's credibility? Reveal that everybody was in the NWO the whole time? Be shit? Booker T mentions that he has had personal experience with Sting, as he has seen him in concert at least 3 times, and owns a signed copy of The Best of Sting, as it's his favorite of Sting's albums. Booker T once again mentions his love of barbecue ribs, and it slowly dawns on the other panelists that Booker T believes that they are in a wrestling arena-themed steakhouse. The WWE highlights the most consistently interesting feud in the company between Seth Rollins and Jon Stewart. Rumor has it that they will finally do battle at WrestleMania in a tag team match between Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert versus Seth Rollins and Jimmy Fallon. I'm really excited personally. Any chance to see someone beat the piss out of Jimmy Fallon, and I'm there with bells on. Booker T mocks Jon Stewart, saying it looked like he was up all night writing his promo. Yes, Booker. Or it might have been that daily political comedy show that he works on to entertain and inform millions of people. Silly Jon Stewart trying to be good on the mic. Leave the talking to the experts like Booker T.
Aw, shucky, ducky, quack, quack.
Good luck trying to be that eloquent, Mr. Stewart. Renee Young smiles and nods, and then invites Jon Stewart to come be a part of their pre-show panel. Because even though Jon Stewart loves the whole scathing political satire thing, he's obviously always secretly wanted to be part of an hour-long commercial for professional wrestling. Eden Styles is interviewing Ryback, Rowan, and Ziggler, who are still really mad about being fired for a whole week, even though throughout that time, they got more TV exposure than during any of their matches. Ryback is an adult human being.
Ziggler.
Feed us more, big guy.
What's best for business is what the WWE Universe wants.
Good one, Ryback. I bet Vince McMahon dared you to say that on air, didn't he? That old prankster must be slapping his thigh in amusement right now, giving people what they want. You nutty wanker. Eric Rowan talks?
We've been exiled. And abused.
Ryback does his Beavis and Butthead impression.
Yeah.
And then back in the arena, Booker T is getting very impatient and wondering where the waiter is. Corey Graves points out that Ziggler's team might have the advantage today, as Triple H is far too busy dealing with Sting to help his Authority friends out. Even though this has been the case for the last 4 weeks, and the Authority has still managed to squash Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback at every turn. But no, you're right, Corey. It must have been Triple H doing something when nobody was looking. Renee Young smiled and nodded at Dean Ambrose earlier in the night, and Dean explained that he wants to win the Intercontinental title and restore the prestige it once held. Kind of hard to restore prestige to a title that was just introduced today. I mean, nobody's even heard of the inter-thingy-nental whatchamacallit until just now. Now, if you were talking about the Divas title, you might have something there. I mean, there's a butterfly on it. Doesn't get more prestigious than that. Prestigious means fucking stupid looking, right? Dean Ambrose threatens to fight Bad News Barrett in the parking lot of Denny's, which would be a slightly worse experience for Barrett than actually going into Denny's and eating there. Dean understands how pivotal this pay-per-view is.
You know, this is time of year where you don't make mistakes.
Which is why Sin Cara doesn't have a match this weekend. Booker T believes that Dean has the upper hand in tonight's match for some vaguely established title belt.
But he's injury prone.
That's true.
He's injury prone.
Yes, but is he injury prone? I don't care what he is! Booker T is very impressed by the duo of Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, and suggests that they name their team Cesaro Kid, much like the classic tag teams of old, such as Hawk Animal, Marty Michaels, and Roadass. Byron Saxton interviews the stars of Total Divas, and also the Bella twins that are attached to them. Brie Bella calls Paige a pale emo wannabe, and adds that that glass of milk will never be Divas champion again. Funnily enough, a glass of milk actually has more chance of winning a title in the near future than Dolph Ziggler. Glass of milk! Glass of milk! Glass of milk. He's super over. Booker T refers to Lana's geopolitical tirades, and everyone's very impressed that he knows words that big until they realize he was talking about her tits. Corey Graves likens the Rusev-Cena feud to Ivan Drago versus Rocky Balboa. What? I never thought about it that way. But now that you've made the comparison, it seems super obvious. Those WWE writers, they're always so discreet with their allusions to pop culture. Next you'll be telling me that Bray Wyatt was talking about the fucking Undertaker this whole time. Whoever the fuck is interviewing whoever the fuck, asking them such hard-hitting questions as, are you happy that your father is being inducted into the Hall of Fame? Surprisingly, yes, they are happy about it. Thank God I tuned into this informative pre-show that has told me fuck all about anything. Wait, I take that back. I learned that Booker T really likes barbecue ribs, so we're one step closer to knowing what the Big Show's favorite pudding is. They pass it back to Renee Young, who has the same reaction as the audience watching at home.
Continue to use the hashtag WWE FastLane throughout the WWE FastLane kickoff show.
I'm embarrassed.
Just smile and nod, Renee. Just smile and nod. Eva Marie and Cameron were part of E's Countdown to the Oscars, an event that features a bunch of overhyped bullshit that leaves everybody disappointed and confused. Speaking of which, the WWE announce team is raring to go for tonight's riveting FastLane pay-per-view. The Miz comes out for a very special edition of Miz TV, where he will be interviewing the Wrestlemania sign. Also Paul Heyman, maybe. Miz Dow is a walking metaphor for every halfway decent performer in the company, being told to sit in the corner and do absolutely nothing while all the attention is focused on the non-wrestlers. What's that? Oh, the Miz is a wrestler. Since when? I've never seen him wrestle. That thing he does in the ring, that's supposed to be wrestling. You're fucking lying. The Miz claims he turned down presenting at the Oscars, so he had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fill in for him. In truth, The Miz was actually barred from attending the Oscars due to his crimes against the world of acting, and for being shit. Speaking of filling in for people, Paul Heyman comes out to the ring and speaks on behalf of the WWE champion, who has been on TV this year for a grand total of 6.5 minutes. Or as Booker T would say, he's on TV right now. In fact, that is Brock Lesnar. Also, where are my barbecue ribs? The Miz asks Heyman if Brock Lesnar will be at the pay-per-view tonight, and Paul just laughs. No, Paul, he said Brock Lesnar, not Curtis Axel. The Miz claims that very soon he will win an Oscar. Right, Miz. And I'm sure one day you'll main event at WrestleMania. The Miz then reminds us that he wants main event at WrestleMania. Right, Miz. Next you'll be telling us that Brock Lesnar is an amputee.
Daniel Bryan, I know, is about the size of Brock Lesnar's one leg.
What the fuck is going on? The crowd chants for Mizdow during Paul Heyman's promo, so he just starts again from the beginning and repeats it word for word. And even though it's the exact same thing we just heard a minute ago, it still manages to be more fresh and interesting than anything we've heard come out of Roman Reigns' mouth in the last 6 months. Paul states that whoever wins tonight's main event will be the loser. Ah yes, some of the old Vince Russo logic there. Paul then leaves, and Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler have a very in-depth discussion about the ramifications of what he just said.
Paul Heyman is extremely confident for his client Brock Lesnar heading into WrestleMania. I like Mizdow.
Ladies and gentlemen, a grown man who is paid to say things into a microphone. The FastLane pay-per-view apparently begins, maybe? And we get a video package narrated by a monotone robotic lady voice that surprisingly doesn't belong to Linda McMahon. And then we get our first look at FastLane's unique arena setup, which looks exactly like Raw. But don't let that fool you. I'm sure tonight's events will be far more significant than those that happen on Monday Night Raw. Probably, hopefully. The first match features Dolph Ziggler teaming up with Eric Rowan and the WrestleMania sign to take on Big Show, Khan, and Cool Runnings. Okay, maybe the pay-per-view didn't start yet, because this is clearly a pre-show match. I mean, there's no way they would start the pay-per-view with this. I'm sure right after this, we'll get some actual content. Just stick with me here, okay? The Spanish announce team is acknowledged for 5 whole seconds, because if it's any longer than that, someone might get thrown through their table. I wonder what they're saying.
Want to translate, John?
They just said that thing. They think I'm doing a great job over here.
Really?
Both of them just said that.
I'm starting to think you don't even know Spanish, JBL. Or English, for that matter. Eric Rowan starts the match off and uses a bunch of powerhouse moves, some of which defy the laws of physics.
Pump handle slam into a backbreaker. That takes strength.
Well, yes, it would take a lot of strength to pull that off, because it's 2 completely different moves. Most people would just use a pump handle backbreaker, but not Eric Rowan, apparently. Somehow he was able to slam the guy and do a backbreaker at the same time, even though that is impossible. Impressive stuff. What's next, JBL? Will he do a suplex throw into a pile driver DDT? The Big Show wrestles Eric Rowan and calls him names, which is doubly insulting when you realize it's coming from the fucking Big Show. Speaking of insulting, Jerry Lawler claims to have a sense of humor.
What did you know that Big Show is not really bald? He's just taller than his hair. When he was born, mother had a C, D, E, and F section.
Hey, you already told that one on SmackDown. I'm very disappointed in you, Jerry. It's almost as though you think people don't watch SmackDown or pay attention to you, which is preposterous. Dolph Ziggler gets the hot tag, and the enthusiastic Memphis crowd goes wild. Don't worry, I'm sure they'll warm up once the pay-per-view actually starts. Dolph Ziggler gets Kane in the corner and starts doing Roman Reigns' finisher to him 10 times. Oh wait, sorry, no, he's just punching him. Why would that be a finisher? I mean, that's ridiculous. Oh wait, Big Show's finisher is a punch as well. Look, I can do Roman Reigns and Big Show's finishers at the same time. I'm like a regular Eric Rowan. Kane pins Ziggler, which makes perfect sense as he really needed that big push, as he's been dwindling in the mid-card and has never been utilized. Ever. The authorities start beating people up, and the crowd start chanting for Randy Orton for some reason, which makes no sense as he's obviously not here tonight. Randy Orton is here tonight, shocking everybody. He runs down to the ring and RKO's the WrestleMania sign, causing Seth Rollins to flee in a panic. In fact, he's still running. 10 minutes later, even though Randy Orton has made no attempt to follow him, and is just chilling out in the ring doing fuck all. Seth, come back! Don't go too far now! You don't want to miss the pay-per-view when it eventually starts! Disappointment is only 35 days away. Sorry, WrestleMania. That's what I meant to say. It's gonna be great. Goldust is approached by Boomhauer's less comprehensible cousin.
You know, this one place I thought would I'd never be.
Truer words were never spoken. In fact, words were never spoken. Goldust promises that he won't leave the ring tonight until he brings his brother Cody back home. Cody Rhodes, bring him home to the place he belongs. Wrestlemania. I like singing, even though I'm shit at it. Stardust comes down to the ring, and he has a brand new look. The Memphis crowd is really excited about it. Goldust's entrance music manages to be more memorable and exciting than anybody else's on the roster, even though it's about 2 decades old. Speaking of things people actually cared about 2 decades ago, JBL reminisces about old sibling rivalries.
Because Bret once fought Owen in a steel cage. Of course, John talking about Bret Hart and Owen Hart.
Oh, thank you for clarifying, Michael, because I thought he was talking about the time that Bret McKenzie fought Owen Wilson in a steel cage, which was a fucking bloodbath. Gold and Stardust put on a great wrestling match in the ring, telling a very interesting story in the process, which of course causes the Memphis crowd to start respectfully chanting, "Boring, boring, boring." Here's some other stuff that the Memphis crowd didn't appreciate.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. I will make them pay for what they've done.
Boring, boring, boring. You know, Patrick Stewart isn't actually bald, he's just taller than his hair. JBL starts making references to The Godfather, and Michael Cole brings up Lord of the Rings once again, because why the fuck not at this point?
I was talking about Lord of the Rings. It's a cartoon. We're talking about The Godfather.
Yes, JBL. The Lord of the Rings is a cartoon, created by respected animator J.R.R. Tolkien, equally famous for his other magnum opus, Garfield. The referee totally botches the ending of the match, but it doesn't matter because this is just the pre-show, so nobody's watching anyway. Goldust reunites with Dustin Hoffman, and Stardust shows up and cuts the best promo of his entire career.
I am not living in your shadow. You're living in mine.
Boring, boring. The Rene Russos take on Cesaro Kid in a tag team title match. Elsewhere, Seth Rollins has made it all the way to Cuba. Cesaro and Tyson are wearing Beats by Dre, which is symbolic of every time they've been beaten in their career. Tyson Kidd gets the pinfall after hitting a fisherman neckbreaker, or as JBL would describe it, a fisherman slam into a neckbreaker. And just like that, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd score their first victory in over 5 years. Shame it was on the pre-show. Would have made a great pay-per-view moment. JBL is suitably impressed.
Tyson and Kidd, the best we've seen come along since the Usos.
I agree. Tyson and Kidd are simply exceptional. It doesn't surprise me that they were able to beat Jimmy and Uso. I can't wait to see them take on other tag teams, such as Kofi and Kingston, or The and Ascension. What do you think of the new tag team champions, Jerry?
I like Miz now.
Good stuff. The King of Kings comes out to confront the Sting of Stings, while the announcers spend a good 5 minutes explaining why Triple H and Sting are even feuding in the first place. You know, since Sting didn't feel like giving an actual explanation. The Vigilante Sting comes out to brand new entrance music, which sounds like the theme from Inception, played by an orchestra of people who don't know how to read sheet music while underwater. Here are some other examples of entrance music that would have been infinitely more bearable.
Relax, don't do it. When you wanna go to it, relax.
Oh, Fort Lottie-Dottie, you got to feel it in your body. Come on now, feel the power.
Or, you know, Sting's old entrance music, but I guess that would have been too confusing. The Memphis crowd goes nuts for the Vigilante Sting. Who's Sting? Triple H delivers a long, drawn-out promo to the Virgil's anti-Sting, accusing him of trying to put his family out of business, and consequently, the World Wrestling Entertainment Federation. Sting counters this argument by staring blankly at him, which would be rather intimidating if he didn't look like an ex-member of My Chemical Romance. Triple H tries to bribe Sting with DVDs, action figures, and the WWE Network, so long as he walks away and never shows his face again. Sting isn't swayed, however, as he just heard what they'd done to his theme music, so he knows they would just fuck everything else up as well. And Snarky Mark and the Funky Bunch are at ringside.
In 2015, Sting will be bigger than he has ever been before.
still less distracting than the WWE commentary team. Tring and Triple H start brawling, and the crowd goes mild. Triple H goes for a sledgehammer under the ring, which they keep down there just in case any test your strength carnival games break out. But Sting is too fast for him, and whips out his trusty baseball bat, which apparently disables Triple H. Because, as everyone knows, professional wrestlers all have a phobia of items related to actual sports. Sting aims his baseball bat at Triple H's face and pretends it's a shotgun. Careful, Triple! I think that baseball bat might be loaded, and the safety's off too! He might shoot you in the face with that baseball bat! Don't try and push it out of the way or anything! It might go off! This harkens back to the Steve Austin-Brian Pillman feud, where Steve Austin trespassed in Brian Pillman's house, and so he shot a hockey stick at him. Sting points to the Wrestlemania sign with his baseball bat. Don't shoot the Wrestlemania sign! It has a family! Then the COO tries to rush Sting from behind, but Sting nails him with a reverse DDT, or as JBL would describe it, a DDT into a DDT. I can't believe they gave that all away on the pre-show. Imagine how good the pay-per-view will be. Can't wait for it to start. Backstage, Daniel Bryan is stretching in preparation for his match with Roman Reigns. Speaking of stretching things out, the announcers stall for time by plugging the WWE Network. Jerry Lawler threatens to deliver this kind of pay-per-view excitement every month. You hear that, Memphis crowd? They're clearly exhausted from all the excitement they've been experiencing. Give them a few minutes, they'll wake up. Seth Rollins made it all the way to some random location that nobody recognizes, and now it's time for the Divas title match between Paige, the biggest thing from Norwich since Alan Partridge, and Sting's baseball bat. Oh, sorry, Nikki Bella. They're hard to differentiate, they're both so wooden. Jerry Lawler likes boobies.
If she were a hamburger, she'd be McGorgeous.
Michael Cole announces that this match is for the coveted Divas Championship, which is much funnier than anything Jerry Lawler has said in the last 5 years. And Nikki beats Paige by pulling her tights. See, Paige, if you had wrestled naked, you wouldn't have had that problem. Not that I would expect you to wrestle naked on the pre-show. Save that for the pay-per-view, whenever that thing starts. The Wrestlemania sign has its own article in Health and Fitness magazine, and Michael Cole announces a match that we all knew was going to happen 5 months ago. But now it's super duper ultra mega official, so there. Next up is the inconsequential title match between tank top wearing chipmunk Dean Ambrose and Bad News Barrett. They remind us of this match's questionable origins by showing us a clip of Dean zip tying Barrett's arms to the ring post, causing JBL to demand,
What kind of Better Call Saul technique is this?
more like Breaking Bad News Barrett. The announcers talk about everything from plagues to soccer to Randy Orton's Twitter account until they eventually remember that 2 professional wrestlers are having a wrestling match for a title or something. Although he puts up a good fight, Dean Ambrose is ultimately disqualified for not pointing at the WrestleMania sign before the match. I'm glad this was on the pre-show. I can't fathom how pissed people would be if this result happened during a pay-per-view. I mean, can you imagine? Dean Ambrose helpfully picks up some trash that somebody dropped outside the ring and then leaves with it, presumably to go find a recycling bin or something. The Flintstones WWE crossover movie is coming out this week. The worst combination of franchises since ECW joined WCW in the invasion angle. Backstage, Roman Reigns is bandaging his fists, paying homage to his favorite video game, Sonic Boom, which, much like Roman, was very disappointing and forced onto the market before it was ready. The WWE holds a funeral service for Jack Swagger's potential. Oh wait, sorry, that's the Undertaker's entrance. The Memphis crowd briefly wakes up from its 3-hour nap, but then goes right back into hibernation when they realize it's just Bray Wyatt. After killing everyone's boner, Bray Wyatt announces that for the past several weeks, he's actually been challenging The Undertaker. What? How did they cover this up for so long? Is M. Night Shyamalan writing for the WWE now? This makes me want to shoot my baseball bat into the air in excitement. So, what's your end game, Bray?
I think it's time for him to go home.
That'll be quite the challenge, especially since The Undertaker has been home for the last year, so sending him there will be kind of redundant. Go home, Undertaker. But I am home. Then go home more. Come on, guys, can't you just let me rest in peace? And then the Memphis crowd completely undercuts the impact of Bray Wyatt's threats.
At WrestleMania, I will claim the soul of The Undertaker.
Yes, Bray Wyatt, who has been billed as coming from Louisiana and Florida, go back to Alabama! Apparently, Memphis doesn't just sleep through wrestling events, they also sleep through geography class. The Druids gradually push the coffin back up the entrance ramp for about 10 minutes. And if the Memphis fans weren't asleep before, they are now. In lieu of actual content, we go instead to the panel of experts, where Booker T says that Bray Wyatt just pulled the biggest card out of the deck. Biggest meaning that it was fucking obvious, and people saw it from a mile away. Next up on this exciting pre-show, John Cena takes on the kind of but not really undefeated Rusev. It's a title match, so obviously Rusev the champion comes out first, because that doesn't fly in the face of tradition whatsoever. Cena and Rusev trade blows, and Jerry Lawler isn't misogynistic in the least.
That looked like one of those backyard fights where it's like, you kick me like a girl, here, take this!
You know, because girls can't fight, even though we have an entire division built around the fact that they can. But no, seriously, Rusev kicks like a smelly girl, and he has cooties. Nice tits, Rusev! John Cena noticeably calls multiple spots throughout the match, and the announcers try to explain it away by saying John Cena is talking to himself. And really, can you blame him? I mean, he's John Cena. Why wouldn't you talk to yourself if you were John Cena? He's the most interesting person in the world. Everybody wants to talk to him, even John Cena. And the only other person he could talk to right now is that smelly girl Rusev. Try not to break a nail, sweetie. Rusev breaks out of the STF and hits John Cena with a move from Bray Wyatt's new hometown, the Alabama Slam. Then John Cena powers out of the Accolade, only for Lana to distract the referee so that Rusev can kick John Cena right in the thugonomics. Fans of WWF No Mercy are very disappointed that there is no jarring bell sound effect accompanying the low blow. Rusev puts John Cena back in the Accolade, and he's struggling to fight out of it. Quick, everyone! Lend John Cena your energy so that he can defeat his opponent! You guys aren't doing shit, are you? John Cena imitates the Memphis crowd and loses consciousness, which is really manly, unless you're a smelly girl like Rusev, in which case fainting makes you laughable and weak. JBL is stunned.
Guys, I thought of a lot of plausible endings. That one right there was not one of them.
Yes! John Cena losing in a wrestling match is just so implausible. Unlike doing a backbreaker and a slam at the same time, which seems totally legit apparently. John Snowna eventually regains consciousness and walks out of the arena on his own 2 feet. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins has found himself in... Wait, that looks like our studio. How the hell did... Bye, Seth. I like your car, by the way. We return once again to the panel of dingbats who can't believe what they just saw, except Booker T, who totally called it.
I'm not surprised. I said it was going to come down to who had the best strategy, who had the best game plan.
Yes, Booker. Well done for predicting that the better wrestler would win the wrestling match. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that the team that wins the Super Bowl next year will be the better football team. Anyone willing to take that bet? We go now to the main event of the pre-show. Andrew Garfield versus Fake Diesel in a match to determine who will be Brock Lesnar's second opponent in as many years. Roman Reigns comes down to the ring and does his finishing move to all the fans in the crowd. Oh wait, no, he's just fist bumping them. There's a subtle distinction between the two. Jerry Lawler is aware of how big the stakes are.
Has there ever been more riding on a single match than this, guys?
I don't think so. No other match in the history of the WWE has ever had a shot at the main event of WrestleMania on the line. It's a brand new thing, never done before. Certainly not at the Royal Rumble last month, or for the last 2 decades. And what's more, you're totally right, Jerry. Having a chance to be in the main event at WrestleMania is a considerably better prize than actually being in the main event at WrestleMania and winning the WWE title. Yes, earning the chance to do that is a much bigger prize than doing that. Never been more riding on a single match than this one, ever. Daniel Bryan faces off against Roman Reigns, and the crowd is divided. because there's a wrestling ring between them, not because their opinion is split or anything. Daniel Bryan uses his wrestling technique to outsmart his opponent, whereas Roman Reigns relies on his brute smugness. Daniel focuses on Roman Reigns' hamstrings, which is a great strategy, because if there's one thing that Roman has a lot of, it's ham. Because of his acting, you see. Roman punches Daniel Bryan multiple times, but he didn't cock his fist before doing so it doesn't hurt that much. The Memphis crowd comes alive for the main event.
What's wrestling?
Or at least that guy does. In the front row. Just to boo Roman Reigns. Roman hits a triple T-bone suplex, or as JBL would describe it, a T-bone suplex into a T-bone suplex into a T-bone suplex. Roman is on wobbly legs at this point, so Daniel Bryan takes advantage of that by kicking him while he's down. But he doesn't cock his foot like it's a gun or something, so it also doesn't do much damage. Daniel puts Roman in the yes lock, a submission move once made famous by
someone else.
Daniel throws Roman Reigns into the steel steps, and a fan at ringside does a terrible Jim Ross impression, improving the running commentary for this match by 300%. Daniel hits Roman with everything he's got, including the Wrestlemania sign, but it is ultimately fruitless, as Roman comes back with his finishing move that people actually take seriously. Roman Reigns is going to Wrestlemania! Again! Isn't that exciting, Memphis crowd?
Who's Roman Reigns?
Roman Reigns shakes Daniel Bryan by the hand, and it's a good thing he didn't cock his fist before doing so, or that would have turned into a deadly submission maneuver. What a main event! Don't you agree, Jerry?
I like Miz now.
All right, you're a great color commentator. It's finally made official. The main event at WrestleMania will be Roman Reigns versus the entire audience's resentment. Do you know, I've never seen a pre-show go quite so long before. That was rather impressive. Now, let's keep watching and wait for the pay-per-view to start. But that was it. What the fuck?